So today we're going to mash up some of my favorite things. Actually, not really mashing them up. It was just thinking about this first phone call and thinking about really bringing the context back to the first phone call, why we're focused on the first phone call. And the first phone call, one of my favorite things. And then the reason we focus on the first phone call is this whole idea of your business as an ecosystem. So I want to talk about these together as we go deeper into this first phone call. You really got to think of your business as an ecosystem. And an ecosystem is this living, breathing thing where all the actions within it are impacting other things around it, right? And so as we think about cancels, no-shows, drop-offs, as we think about things in the ecosystem that give us problems, these things we measure, these things we look at, cancels, drop-offs, no-shows, or arrivals, however, we can flip them to the positive. When we're looking for the solutions to these things, if we understand that our business is an ecosystem and all the parts are acting together, then we will start to look for the solutions in the right place. In typical ecosystems, right, and there's some great stories out there, and you guys, if you Google the term ecosystem, you'll see, right, how it came about and some different examples in nature. But usually the solutions to problems in nature are further what we call upstream. And the best example of this is an example of a quote I read one of the first times I saw this, where there's someone standing on the shore of a river, and a baby comes floating by crying, and the guy jumps in the river, grabs the baby, pulls it out. As soon as he gets it pulled out, here comes another baby, dives in again, pulls it out. Now this keeps happening. And not only that, but more babies start floating by, and he's calling for help, and people are jumping in with him. Finally, as these people, more and more people, more and more babies floating down the river, as these people are jumping in, someone steps up, and the guy yells at, the guy jumping in yells at the guy who just walked up to jump in and help. And he goes, I'm not going to do that. And the guy says, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you help us? The guy says, I'm going to go upstream and see where the babies are falling into the water and stop it there. I love that story. I think that's a great analogy, right? And it's a great analogy around us chasing cancels, no-shows, drop-offs, completed plans of care, billing issues, all these things at the point that they happen, when actually the better solution, the best solution, the real solution, the long-term solution is further upstream. And that's that first phone call. And managing and setting expectations is taking care of these problems further upstream. The way we manage this first phone call, right? Managing and setting expectations, building a relationship, making sure there's no surprises, right? That we discuss costs, that we do all these things we need to do on this first phone call. We will actually see many problems that occur in our business downstream from that first phone call resolve themselves, start to level out, right? And that way, right, we don't get those big fluctuations. We don't get those big swings. We don't get it to be a high number. It comes down, and that's what I call our benchmark, right? And if we start to deliver a better first phone call, then the numbers downstream we are getting are more accurate and become a better benchmark for what we should expect. I see people chasing all kinds of numbers. One month it's 20, the next it's 11, and then it goes up again to 19. And they don't have a process in place upstream. So again, they're just jumping in the stream, saving babies. Every once in a while, one comes by instead of 5 at the same time, right? Going upstream, managing this first phone call is the place to impact the ecosystem that is your business greatest. So I want you guys to all think on that context and think about the problems you're having in your business, and think about, how can I go further upstream to solve these? Anytime I have a drop off, first thing I do is go back to the first phone call. I look who answered it. I look for a recorded call to make sure the process was followed. If the process wasn't followed and there was a drop off downstream, I don't engage my PTs. I don't engage my providers. I go back upstream to where the problem started. The process wasn't followed. We can do that with cancels. We can do that with drop-offs. We can do that with billing issues, right? So thinking of the business as an ecosystem draws us back to the importance and the value and the investment we should be making in the first phone call. Cheers, all.